So everyone knows that Chris Dolan likes to sue Uber, right? But what about Uber drivers? They need good lawyers too. Well, lucky for Mr. Castro, an off-duty Uber driver, he managed to find his way into Chris's, Dianna, and Megan's office when he was hit by a defendant driver who ran a stop sign. Now, that doesn't sound like a very tough case. So why are we talking about it? The problem is that Mr. Castro suffered what's called a pseudo-bublar effect, which was going to require millions of dollars in medical care. And you guessed it, the defendant didn't have millions of dollars, not even close to it. And this is where it gets interesting because here are the facts. This is a two-way intersection that the defendant was going northbound. The defendant had stopped at 2 stop signs before that intersection. The defendant had been through that intersection multiple times before. The intersection that she blew had a stop sign on the right, a stop sign on the left, a stop ahead sign on the side of the road, and a very large marking on the ground that said that a stop was coming up. There were 0 prior accidents which could be attributed to any dangerous condition on the road. And then there's this: no ambulance transport, no ER on the day of the collision. The client had a prior history of uncontrolled diabetes, no MRI findings of organic damage to the brain. In fact, it was a purely clinical diagnosis, meaning there's no objective evidence of the injury. And hear this: injury such as this is characterized by episodes of sudden, uncontrollable, and inappropriate laughing or crying. Now, I don't want to say that the client was a bad witness, but he never actually testified at the trial. And you can deduce from that whatever you want. In fact, when he got on the stand, he had a panic attack, stood up, walked into the wall behind him. The judge had to sort of put her hand on him. His wife took him outside of the courtroom, and he spent the rest of the trial in the hallway. There was no life care plan. They got the case late. Now, having said all that, the one fact that Chris and his team had is that one of the stop signs, the one on the right, was partially obstructed by overgrown trees. And so the city of Long Beach was added to the case. Now, as you're listening to this pitch, I want you to seriously ask yourself this: how fast would you have passed on that case? I know that I would have, but not Chris. Chris likes impossible cases, and this is an impossible case. Now, let me talk about the trial. Venue, Pasadena, bad. Judge, Oldendorf, very good. Jury selection took over 7 days. 50 jurors were excused for cause. Yes, 50. Now, the best story from jury selection is that one of the jurors listed Yahoo Legal as a prior employment. She was a paralegal. Now, lo and behold, she started tweeting, blogging from day one, said the judge was falling asleep, looked bored, bragged about discussing the case with another juror, and expressly stated that she didn't believe the plaintiff. Chris printed the Twitter feed, read it out loud in front of the judge. Big hearing, defense wanted a mistrial. The judge decided to move forward. Now, the jury composition, very interesting move. Chris allowed a deputy city attorney who handles dangerous condition cases for the city to sit on his jury. Now, everyone told Chris he was crazy to keep him on, and I can vouch for the fact that Chris is crazy. He also led a criminal defense attorney on the panel, hoping that that person would sort of offset the other juror. So how did he do it? First, there were 40 motions in limine in the case. Second, excellent depositions, perfect depositions, getting the city to admit, 1, that a tree partially blocked the stop sign on the right, 2, that a partially obstructed sign creates a risk and that such a risk needs to be addressed for public safety, 3, that as far as the left side stop sign was there, it wasn't enough time for the driver to see it, perceive it, and then stop. Also, Chris focused on the broader issue at play in the case, and this is, I believe, why he should win, why he and his team should win the award. The city had no inspection program, which meant that the city had failed in a major way to prevent crashes throughout the entire city. Now, the city tried to argue that it relied on a citizen army to report obstructed signs. A citizen army? Now, it's funny because a citizen army is just what a jury is. And Chris and his team drove that point home on rebuttal, making the city eat its words. Now, I don't have time to go over all the theatrics of the trial, but trust me, it was a show. For example, the city tried to show the signs were reflective and thus should have been seen. They brought a freshly cleaned sign to court. The problem is they'd wiped the front, but they forgot to wipe the back. So Chris made them eat that one too, although he had to lick the dirt off of his finger because nobody thought to bring a Kleenex. Now, another thing, the officer on scene claimed to recall everything from memory. Chris made him turn his report over and ask him, what do you remember now? Turned out he got his memory directly from the city attorney. Oops. Cal Boone, the defense neuropsych. He limited her testimony to no end by preventing her to talk about causation, which also excluded the neurologist who relied on her. Now the closing. I was there. It took an entire day just for the plaintiff, and it was masterful. The highlight of the closing, though, was Chris emulating Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid to ridicule the stop sign cleaning episode. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Extra points for the Miyagi reference in my book. Now the verdict, dangerous condition, 12-0. Past economic damages, $164,000. Future economic damages, $1.6 million. Now remember, without a life care plan, all of that was gleaned from recipient testimony. Past non-economic damages, $956,000. Future non-economic damages, $1.7 million, for a total jury award of just under $4.5 million. Best part is the jury found the city to be 55% responsible. The jurors cried. The defense never offered more than $150,000 for the case. Now, as a result of Chris and his team's effort, the city of Long Beach has instituted an inspection program to make sure that all city signs are unobstructed. The case not only made the residents of that city safer, it also provided a pathway for other plaintiffs' lawyers to successfully litigate and argue these cases. Please vote for Chris, Dianna, and Megan for Consumer Attorney of the Year for the amazing magic trick they performed in this case. We're all safer because of it. Thank you.